Hey, ¿qué pasa, Calexico? Welcome back to the podcast. Before I begin, like always, I want to thank my sponsors, my anchor sponsors, my friends Sergio, Jake, and James. Thank you guys for sponsoring the podcast. Also want to thank my friends here at Golden Dragon for allowing me to record today's episode here at their restaurant. Thank you, Patty, for giving me the space. Also, if you guys want to become a sponsor of the podcast, make sure you check out my Facebook page. Get more information there on how to become a sponsor. Also, any local business that might want to promote their business on the podcast, hit me up. Send me an email. Pasa Calexico@gmail.com. And today's guest is Calexico's city mayor.
Yeah.
Mr. Bill Hodge.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Before we get into the meat and potatoes, tell my listeners a little bit about yourself.
Oh, man. Well, a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll try. I've been in Calexico. I consider it my home. I love it. Since 1992. I lived 2 years prior to that in Mexicali with my ex-wife. No longer together. And I am originally from Los Angeles. I like to say that I moved more than the U-Haul movers with my Mexican mother. I'm half Mexican. Nobody believes me. But,
I don't think whenever you told us in class.
I know you didn't believe me,
No.
but because I don't look it and I don't speak Spanish that adequately. But mi mamá, Corinne Sofia Figueroa de Sonora. So, and I'm proud. She used to ask me, "Mijo, are you proud to be Mexican?" I said, "Yes, mommy. Yes, I'm proud." So I'm an LA boy, LA Dodgers all the way. Grew up listening to them with Vin Scully. Interviewed for a teacher's gig here in 1992, and I was put into special education and spent 5 years in special ed. From there, I transferred into mainstream, taught U.S. history, U.S. government, economics. You and I worked together. You were a student of mine.
Yeah.
That's how old I am, ladies and gentlemen. And so I got involved in politics, and I wished I would have gotten involved earlier because I thrive on it. I love it. And it was 2010, so or a little before that, and I ran, and I was elected.
Your first time you were.
First time I ran and was elected. I felt very good about myself, and ran and was served for 4 years until 2014. And then that was at the beginning of what I like to call Calexico's dark ages. Financially and socially, and it was a real hard time. Of course, when I was on the council too, we had a lot of bickering.
Yeah.
There was a lot of rancid feelings and so forth, but it got worse. I was not reelected, and I ran again for 2016, and I was reelected. So I'm very fortunate, and I'm here to serve the community, all 42,000 Calexicans, and that's about it in a nutshell. So, and right now, I read about 5 books at one time. I enjoy reading, and I'm substituting so I can put some money aside before I die, because it's difficult to travel when you're dead.
Yeah.
Would like to go to New York, Cancun, so I'm saving money to travel. I am retired, but I'm subbing on the side. And then a hobby, Jose, you and I have done it together before, is we're part of the clique, the comedy group here in Imperial Valley, stand-up. And I'm waiting for Juan, right?
Jose. Cital.
Well, yeah, but the other gentleman that sponsored a lot of them.
Oh,
What's up?
yeah. What's his name? I forget his name.
Yeah, it's Juan.
What's up, Boo?
Yeah.
What's up with you?
Yeah, what's up with you? Something like that. Waiting for him, but if Jose's going to do something, let me know.
Yeah, for sure.
So I enjoy that. And the young guys, the young comics taught me something. I kind of am a perfectionist in some respects. It depends on what I'm focused on. And I was over polishing my material. It was just too tight, squeaky clean, real polished. And so it lacked spontaneity. It lacked that natural that I saw a lot of the young guys go up on stage and they winged it. They had an outline of what they're doing, but they didn't know when. It looked like they had backup, but they didn't know exactly when they were going to shoot out the jokes because it was in between them interacting with the audience.
Yeah.
So I watched that carefully and I learned from that.
Yeah.
So I'm anxious to try it out. Takes a lot of bravery to get up and interact with the audience.
Yeah.
But I have a theatrical background.
I think acting was like your first.
Yeah, well, I had a drama class at the high school, but I tried to be a professional actor in the 1970s. Had a little bit of luck, not much. Did about a couple of movies, 5, 6 commercials, but tons of theater. So that's about it. That's who I am. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but we'll see.
Before I get into
Sure.
the like I said, meat and potatoes, Javier Gonzalez wanted to thank you for helping out with the turkey run, and also helping out his community, the KGs. He sent me a message and wanted me to thank you for that. When you said that you enjoyed your first term. You felt like you should have gotten into politics earlier. Now that this is not your first rodeo, this is your second term. Do you feel that elected officials have this spotlight on them all the time, right? Do you feel that because of that, you guys are held at a much higher standard than local?
Oh, we are, and we should be, because we're public servants. So that's a given. We should be held to a higher standard. And so I just want everybody to know this is lemonade.
So
I'm thirsty. It's been a long day, but yeah, we should be. But you have to have thick skin to survive in politics and city government, because you're going to have your naysayers, you're going to have your critics, no matter how compromising you are, and that sometimes is not very good to be too compromising. You're going to have people that won't like you, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and kind of goes back with, like, we're talking about stand-up comedy. There's always somebody that hecklers or whatnot.
Oh yeah.
And something that I've been watching the
City council meetings.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Something that kind of struck me was, and you have a little bit of backlash on this, was the fact that you kind of wanted to rein how and what the people who came up for the public.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about the spotlight.
Yeah, public announcements, public comments.
Yeah. Sometimes the people that come up to these, to the public announcements, they've gone through different venues to kind of like get their problem resolved. So sometimes people can and might be upset of
Well, when we read the public comments, it says it is unlawful to do slanderous remarks or defamation of character. But at the same time, it's a balance. You have to allow them freedom of speech. I just don't want disorder in the council. I believe in decorum. I believe that, first and foremost, it's a business meeting. The public is invited. It's not per se a public forum, but there is a designated time that people may speak up, and they do. And we have some individuals that have a lot of anger, had a lot of resentment. Some of them rightfully so, and they vent. They vent, and they continue to criticize. I have decided that I am not going to let any falsehoods or false statements go by and just be silent. So one thing I've decided is to counter any accusations or falsehoods. We have a moment, the council does, to be able to respond to public comments when we come up to city council comments. It's a structure, it's a process, but the most important thing is I'm trying to orderly run a meeting, and there has to be decorum. There should be no shouting. There should be no profanity. There should be no salacious remarks about the council members. Stick to the issues, give us specifics, give us evidence, and so forth. But sometimes it gets away, so I'm learning to use the gavel more, and I'm to a point where if it gets disorderly, I will not hesitate to escort a lady or a gentleman outside of the chambers if they're just disruptive of the meeting, because people are there to follow the meeting, and one person should not ruin it. It's almost like a teacher in a classroom. You shouldn't allow that one student to disrupt the whole learning process.
But do you feel that? I'm not calling the citizens. No, I'm not calling them kids. But sometimes, when you tell a kid like don't do this, or you tell an adult sometimes like don't do this. Sometimes
you're challenging them.
Yeah. So isn't it sometimes better just to?
No, not anymore, because we sat there and we were silent, and they were winning. I felt, because they were. There, I believe some people there that come up have an agenda. Now, I don't think they conspire. I'm not saying they conspire, but they all pretty much know what they're doing and what they're affecting. And they're trying to undermine individual council members. They're trying to create a definite negative picture of the council, when we are one of the most collaborative, progressive city council members we've ever had. I can tell you the difference, because from 2010 to 2014, there was a lot of rancor, there was a lot of in-house fighting, a lot of bitterness. We don't have anything like that. We've had one council member that got into personal problems, and that council member is going to have to face the consequences, whatever that may be. But I understand your point, but I just can't let certain accusations or criticisms go by any longer. Like, here's a big one, and rightfully so, because it gives me a heavy heart, and I'm sincere about Santo Tomas, if you don't mind me expounding on that.
No, go ahead.
We could have done some things better, but the vendors, regardless of who's at fault, the vendors lost their livelihoods. Some lost their homes. So I understand why they're angry. It's just that some outsiders or influential powers have influenced certain vendors to believe that the city is totally at fault. And I remember what we did for them. I remember the meetings we had. I remember the efforts we made. They said that I didn't come through. I said we were going to have a meeting, and I first said it should be like a public forum. But we changed the venue. It wasn't a public forum. It was with the owners and some key vendors that took a leadership role. Because we felt if we had a public forum immediately after what had happened, that there would be no sincere, true communication. It would be more of an arena of shouting and venting, and because these people were angry, and rightfully so. So I did have that meeting, but not the way that we first expected it. So I'm accused of not coming through. So be it. But I have to defend the city. We did try to help them, and it's not entirely the city's fault. The only thing I didn't like about what the city did was the bond that we required, a $5 million bond. Come on. I mean, that is just too much for the owners to have to deal with. It should have been lower, a lot lower. But
What was the bond for?
the bond was for them to be able to start their business and protect themselves and have some kind of liability. That if they were going to go along with certain procedures and standards, they still had to have a bond to begin the business.
Oh, okay. Okay. Recently, there was two local papers that wrote two very different articles on the city's budget. Can you tell us a little bit about,
Yeah, the ones that were real negative got the wrong information. Or they got misled, or it was not proper communication. Adelante, is that how you say that magazine?
Yeah.
I don't understand Spanish that much, but I sure understood that title of the news event that they had over about Calexico. But they based it on 2016-2017 budget and circumstances. And back then, yes, we were still in debt.
Mm.
The one that Richard Brown wrote was the truthful, accurate one. It was covering the 2018-2019 and then projection of 2019 to 2020 budget.
Okay.
And the truth is that we are expected to break even at the end of the year. We should have a 1.4 million surplus, but it's going to be washed out and break even because we have to turn around and pay 1.4 to the wastewater, the enterprise, because we got a loan from our own city sector and we have to pay it back.
Okay.
So there was just a misunderstanding. I think we did present 2016 and 2017, but that's a couple of years ago. We are in a better situation right now. We have brought the city staff that have diligently worked hard and sacrificed. They're the ones that should be given the credit, not the council so much, not even the management, but it's the employees, the ones that made the sacrifices.
Yeah.
The police department, the fire department, all the different bargaining units in the city, in different staffing areas, because they made sacrifices in salary cuts. They made sacrifices in working extra hours with no money. And we brought Calexico from the brink of bankruptcy. We brought it from the edge back to some solvency. And now we're turning the corner, and the next couple of years we should. I got scared last night. Oh no, not an earthquake. Oh, I hope this is not huge or large, because we would be in trouble if we had an emergency and a large-scale earthquake. We don't have the reserves. We don't have the money.
Yeah.
And so we pray and we white-knuckle it and hope nothing happens, that we can get 2 more years where we will be solvent.
Yeah. In terms of those $4 million that were over, I guess
Right.
Because I guess the answer we got was that that money was overspent. That.
Yes.
So it just you overspent it. Nothing, like, case closed, or what's the...
I was not on the council when that spending was taking place.
But like I know, but were you on the council when it came up and it was on the paper?
I was at the end of it when they were spending, and to me, we had a very poor city manager at that time, and I'm partly responsible because I voted him in. I had confidence in him. And what was it? They counted Measure H money twice when it should have been just once that they borrowed from it. They borrowed from it twice, so they got that in a negative. And there was a lot of misspending and mishandling of money.
But was it, that was the money that was mishandled, misspent? Was it, going to the city or like roads, parks, or
not enough?
So that there was never like an investigation to see.
There was an FBI investigation that was mainly into the police department, and with hindsight now, I think there was corruption. We have a much better police department. The morale is high. There is no corruption. So we've turned the corner, and that's part of my responsibility is to speak the truth and to give the right proper perspective that people need to know. And we're at fault because we don't PR enough. We don't promote ourselves, or we don't communicate enough with the public. But that's why I'm here tonight, and I do video presentations from time to time to let the public be updated.
In terms of the the FBI investigation towards the police, is there ever going to be like a like closure, like something that the city's going to come out and say, the police department, the FBI, like is there like something in final where
there already has been closure. There was a list composed by auditors. I don't know if it was the FBI also, but in various departments, and there was a list, a certain amount of violations or mishandling or lack of internal control. And we have pretty much addressed all of them, and so things are in a lot tighter, more operational mode than it had been before.
But has there ever been like an
announcement,
like a press conference or
no? And I don't know if there will be,
because I feel that that's what sometimes like people
they need closure like that. That's a good point. I think we've stated the closure many times in city council meetings, that we've turned the corner and we're in better shape right now, and the morale is higher, and there is less corruption. Can I say that there is no corruption? I'm not going to sit here and make statements like that. I don't know, but I as a mayor am pushing for more transparency. If we make a mistake, I want us to admit it immediately and then correct it. It's a difficult position. I'll say you're here for the public. They're your boss, but sometimes the roadblocks are internal. Sometimes you have to wrestle with management to get certain things done. And then government in general is like a slow turning wheel.
Yeah.
And I know people are frustrated. I understand it. I'm frustrated. I want faster results.
Yeah. And I don't think it's because it's not fast enough, but it's because that it feels like we've been, in a hole or like problems like nonstop.
Are you saying that people aren't aware that we're in the positive now?
No, I mean, yeah, but in terms of, downtown's dead.
Yeah.
Imperial Avenue looks really
Okay, let me
bad.
talk about downtown. And I know it's always saying it's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
Yeah, I think that's what really
But
frustrates
it's
people.
supposed to really be coming. And we've got gates on one alley. We've just made a deal with Republic. Republic is going way beyond what they need to do with their contract with us. They've been very
who's Republic?
helpful. Allied Waste,
Oh, okay.
our disposal company that we contract out to.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Just in that area, you said that there's gates. Yesterday, Carlos Fonseca, Yogi, he posted pictures and
It was
looked-
horrible.
Yeah,
And that's frustrating. And here is what's going to happen. I've set up a meeting with the management, Dell and Figueroa, and Ryzen and I are going to sit down with them, and we're going to discuss these areas, and we're going to discuss the timeline of these areas. Why is it taking so long to get locks? But Ryzen is a real promoter. He's very aggressive, and he got he talked to Republic, and they're going to provide locks. But there's some legalities involved, so it's going to have to go to the council. We have to talk to our lawyer about closing up thoroughways.
yeah.
But we want to close them up. I do. Even former councilman and now supervisor Escobar had come up with the idea, close the alleys, those two alleys, lock them up at a certain periods of time so there's no loitering or going through. And the merchants, too, need to be responsible. I'm going to push for an ordinance that the merchants have to pay at least twice a week to have their trash picked up. Right now, I was kind of taken back because they have the ability or they have the choice to decide how many days they want their trash picked up. Well, if they're only going one day and that bin is becoming fuller and fuller and overfilled, you're gonna see what photos you saw the other day. Trash all over the place, and then people being able to go in there and scuff through the bins. It's a mess.
Yeah, I think that they should know, like so and so, or this week I'm gonna get a big shipment of boxes that's gonna fill up the
Well,
bins.
you see, it's a matter of profit. It's a matter of where can I cut corners and save as much, but at the expense of cleanliness and lack of beautification for downtown. Now, we do have over a $200,000 grant for design and we're going to work with the state to close up Rockwood and make it a promenade. That's going to happen this year. That's definitely going to happen. Allied Waste or Republic, they're now called Republic, I believe. They're helping us. They're going to be picking up the trash almost on a daily basis. And they have some chemicals that are going to eradicate the stench, because I'm tired of hearing people say it stinks down there, it looks terrible down there, and I want results.
Yeah.
And I put pressure, and sometimes it's frustrating because sometimes it seems like it goes in one ear and out the other. And it's up to me and it's up to the other council members to put our foot down and make demands with administration. But then the reality is we're tight on the budget.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of money, extra money to spend. But there's ways of finding money.
Yeah, especially for stuff like that, that.
Well, yeah, because the people count. It's important for the people.
Yeah.
They need to have a clean and safe and healthy environment to shop.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end
The
of the day,
parks need to be clean. Now, one thing I'm proud of is I pushed for Rockwood to be cleaned up, to relocate the homeless, and I have created a committee for the homeless because we're not going to forget them. We're working on short-term solutions and long-term solutions. And then the police got got involved, and they've done an excellent job in policing the park. So now Rockwood is almost homeless free. I don't want to sound hardened because I care about the homeless. We know where they're going. We know they're still being fed. They need a place. And in the long term, we hope to build a homeless facility, a cooling and shelter for them. I'm working on that. I'm learning a lot. It's a real learning curve. How to be shovel ready and financing and all the different preliminary studies and concept study and site control and all that economic development.
Yeah.
But I'm proud of that result. That happened in a shorter time of my mayorship. And that's the thing. I don't feel good about myself if I don't get results. Results is what counts. You could talk and talk and talk, but if you don't get results, people know it. And why should you be reelected?
Yeah.
So I'm pushing for results, and we're going to get some results.
We recently got this letter at home about the water. That it
Yes.
had the TTHMs were a little bit too high.
Right.
What can you tell us about that?
It's got me concerned. What did Ronald Reagan say? Trust but verify. So I'm going to verify. I'm going to investigate. I'm going to ask questions with the management. They're going to have to convince me that it's safe. On face value, I believe them that it's safe. I don't want any panic. People should not be panicking. They said that from time to time this is common.
Do you know? Did they tell you why it happens?
They did, and it's technical, and I don't remember.
Okay.
Or I can't regurgitate that.
Yeah.
It's something technical, but I'm going to find out more about it. I have a meeting with Dale at 2:30 on Thursday, so we're going to go over that. We're going to go over the police department. Why is it taking so long to hire police officers? You know, I know what they're going to tell me, but I want to be able to shortcut that and change it and get faster results.
Yeah.
So, and then we're going to go, one of the issues we're going to talk about is downtown. So, so things are in the works. It's just, it's sometimes frustrating that the results don't come quick enough.
Yeah, but in terms of the water, you know, just if you could like get us in or get somebody to give us an update in terms of that.
I will.
Also, because I mean, a lot of people get frustrated when they need to pay their water bill.
Oh yeah,
and it's high, and yet you know we get these letters and we're like, you know, is it safe to like even bathe with our water? You know, so I mean,
yeah. You know, we need better PR.
Yeah.
You know, we need better PR because I can see the next meeting what's going to come up.
For sure.
You know, that people are paying more for water and now the water is not safe.
Yeah.
But that's not true at this point in time. I need to get more facts. I will delve into it. I will personally update you so you can tell the followers on this podcast what the situation is. I'll do that.
For sure.
But I read the letter and then I read in the newspaper, and some areas were kind of technical, and I don't have that
if somebody,
skilled background.
I think that if somebody could you know
Put it in layman terms.
Yeah. Speaking of PR, something that kind of and it was brought up in one of the meetings was that you know you and David Dale were on this video for the Nike store, and people were kind of upset in the fact that you guys didn't give the same support to.
This was originated by, led by, produced by Grand Plaza, mainly Angel Esparza, and he's trying to save Nike. I look at it this way. I promoted Nike for less than a minute. When I compare the various meetings and efforts that the city made to help Santo Tomas. Santo Tomas, the owners have to take some blame here. And the vendors, every time we would say, well, you got to do this and you can start your business. No, we don't want to do that. They were so used to having it a certain way, they didn't realize that after the fire, that the old way could not be the new way any longer.
Yeah, I do get that. And it's unfortunate that, took
It's
a tragedy.
very unfortunate.
It took a tragedy to kind of realize that,
Yeah, and I'm not saying the city is perfect about this or blame free. I personally think that the city over the years should have done their due diligence in inspecting and telling. They did tell the vendors or owners, and I was told by management that the owners told the city a few years back that the list that was submitted to them to get done, that they had done what they needed to do for the fire department and so forth, code enforcement. But when they went back to inspect, the truth was they actually hadn't done it.
Yeah.
That's a very touchy subject.
Yeah.
But my heart goes out to the workers, the vendors. And I keep asking Dale, is there any property, is there any place where we can help them set up? And
I know some of
so
them
far we have, yes, some of them have taken it their own initiative.
They did the outdoor,
indoor,
outdoor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been there a couple of times and
it's good.
Yeah, it's a good.
But it doesn't account for all the vendors.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, these people, that was their livelihood, and
it was.
And
I don't blame them for being angry.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. Let's see. Go back to my list. Talk about cannabis. How many licenses did we give out the first time?
Okay, the cannabis keeps getting more and more complicated. What type of license?
Well, storefront.
We had 5. Then it was extended to 7, and now it's been extended to 12. That can qualify.
So 12 licenses for storefront.
For retail.
Retail.
Are you referring to retail?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
we passed the ordinance last meeting.
And not the first round was 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
And out of those 5, how many are in?
That's a good question, and I'm going to tell you that I don't absolutely know. I know that the very first, and not in retail but cultivation and manufacturing, was Trinity, and as far as I know, they're still operating. They had some problems, some snags, but I heard that they were working them out. But at this point, we got rid of that. I didn't like it. These businessmen in the queue, waiting, I didn't like that. I didn't think that was right. I mean, I understand there's a first come, first serve, and I understand if we were going to limit them, then there'd have to be some waiting. But business people don't wait.
Yeah.
Time is money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I feel that there's people out there that are ready to go, and yet we're left out of the.
I had suggested, okay, if you have this queue, and there's 7, and the 6 below number 1 have to wait for number 1 to be ready and get into the ring. Well, that and if number 5 is ready, why shouldn't 5 be able to advance and go in and start the process of their business?
Mm-hmm.
Because the rest of the businesses shouldn't be held up because number 1 is taking its time, or they've got snags or problems or obstacles and they're not ready. I don't think that was fair.
Yeah. And
so that's why I said, You got this many already still waiting. It might be a little too much, and we'll know. The state's going to let us know if we've got too much retail. But I said, let's get rid of this queue. Let's get rid of them. Let's let them. And then I heard that there were some unfair maneuverings, jockeying around. Yogi, right?
Mm-hmm.
I heard that he was dealt a bad deal, and I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
So we have now expanded to 12.
In terms of revenue, how much did revenue that cannabis bring in?
Last year, the truth, 2,000.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Because Trinity wasn't up and going, and they, I could be wrong, but it was really a low amount. It might not be 2,000, could be more, but it was low. It was like, oh wow, man, what happened? And what happened is we have to have a better mechanism to be able to make sure that they're reporting properly their taxes. You know, this is a new frontier.
Yeah, and I guess that was my next question. Like, if it's something that we don't have the data on, like how it's evolving, how it's working for our city.
We do. The city is diligent about it. It's taking time. We're evolving. We're learning. We're getting better.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, so if we're still like learning, if it's still like a learning process, why assign more licenses when we really don't know if it's something?
Because I just thought that under our economic system, capitalism, the nature of it is competition and profit. And for me personally, to vote for it was because competition will weed out the winners and the losers. So you may have at first 12, but we may only end up with 5. You see? Or we still could end up with 12. They could be all successful. But I don't think that's the nature of our economic system. There's going to be winners and losers in the competitive realm. So I don't want any more. I mean, 12 is the max for me as a council member. So 12,
those 12 are for retail.
Retail.
Okay. And then for like the bigger
ones,
bigger production,
where the bigger money is, we have promises. We have some investors that got site control, but they still need to go through more loops and process. So the only one that I know of, but the expert on this is Miguel Figueroa. So correct me if I'm wrong. The only one I know that's in operation is Trinity for cultivation and manufacturing.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. There could be one more there or two more, but I haven't seen it. I haven't heard about it.
Okay. In terms of long-term economic development, what's the city's plan? Other than, these small town retails that may already be here or may be coming, what's the,
We need to preserve the character and essence of Calexico. So we need to support small businesses. But I personally am progressive in a sense, economically, believe in growth. Of course, now that I can keep learning more and more about climate change, sometimes I say to myself, what difference it's going to make when the bigger issue is climate change, and that's going to control and determine everything. But I don't want to use that as an excuse. We have to try to enhance business as much as we can. I think that let me shut this off. I think that I'm on the same page with management and the council for the most part, and that is we want a mixture of mom and pop, small business, but we need more national brand businesses.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're pushing for. We're going to get what is it? The gym?
The Planet Fitness.
Huh?
Planet Fitness.
Yes. We're going to get that. That's been told. We're going to get a general dollar store.
It's kind of like a dollar store, like a 99 cent store.
I'm not too excited about that. I mean, people will be hired. It provides jobs. Maybe not the best jobs, but I'm sorry. Sorry for the interruption. Let me shut this off. And wait 1 second. So I'm more progressive, and I want that kind of thing to happen where we have national brands, and that's what we're working on. And Miguel Figueroa is pushing on it too. Any other aspects about that? Because I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
Don't. Oh, you have a wife, huh?
Yeah.
But you tell her not to call at this particular time, right?
Yeah,
Unless it's
she
an
knows.
emergency.
She knows. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The thing. Yeah. What's the plan for,
To expand, to bring more businesses. Personally, I am extremely jealous of El Centro.
Yeah, me too.
We should be like El Centro. So if you want to know where I'm coming from, I want Calexico to be like or better than El Centro.
I think we should be. We have
we have the potential.
Yeah, to be better.
Yeah.
But I think that potential things gets thrown out there too much.
Mm-hmm.
Where we say oh yeah, we have potential, but
we don't act on it.
Yeah.
Not enough. We haven't. But the Mr. Figueroa and Mr. Dale are progressive. I have faith in them, and at this point in time, and we're on the same page. They want the same thing, except Dale is the city manager, and he needs to keep a tight rein on the budget. So there's always a tug of war because council members, our constituents are the public.
Yeah.
We want community safety. We want community welfare. We want community growth. We want community beautification. So there's always sort of a tension there. Can we get this? We want this. Let's get the parks cleaned up. I'm sorry, Mayor Hodge, but we only have one person on staff. Well, let's get more. I'm sorry, we don't have money to get more, but we keep pushing.
Yeah. In terms of small business, mom and pop shops, something that I often hear is that business licenses here in Calexico are
high.
A bit high in terms of if you want to go to El Centro, you'll get.
Yeah. We, thanks to the vendors, prior to the vendors, we are becoming more aware of that. Dale is aware of that. For future agenda items, stated that I wanted to see some kind of background information about business license. Maybe we could do a survey, a feasibility study. But the bottom line is, from good old folks, good old business people, I hear that they pay too much. Mm-hmm. And what seems to be ridiculous to me, and I don't really care about the rationale that someone tells me, is that a vendor or a merchant should not have to pay numerous fire inspections or have to get numerous business licenses because maybe he travels from one spot to another. That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. One business license should suffice. So that's something that I'm going to push on. and I want to see reformed.
Yeah, I think one of the last meetings that was brought up, and
Yeah,
and I think everybody was
on board.
yeah, with that, because it's kind of like it doesn't seem fair.
It's not fair.
Yeah,
It's not fair. Because and we're not competitive. The one thing that I keep accentuating, pushing for with management, with anybody I can talk to, is that Calexico needs to be more pro-business.
yeah,
And there are a lot of aspects to being pro-business, but we need to be better at that. I don't think we're this way any longer with the permits, but a few years back, I kept hearing, let me contrast with El Centro. And I don't want to bash my city, but I want to see the flaws and correct them. You go to El Centro, they've got a form, they've got a timeline that tells the businessman, you'll have your permit in 2 weeks. And 99.9% of the time, the businessman had his permit in 2 weeks. He knew what he had to do.
yeah,
He did it. He got his permit. Calexico was a little more relaxed. For instance, example, you go as a business person. Excuse me, I put in my request for a permit. It's been over 2 weeks. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You got to go over here and see so-and-so. And they'd go over there, and like you having to follow and find somebody that speaks English at Walmart so you can ask them where are the popsicles if you're a teacher. And they keep taking you to different people, and finally you get to the person that speaks somewhat fluent English. Well, it's the same thing. They get the runaround. Too much runaround at Calexico and too much time to get the permit.
yeah,
And that's not pro-business, because I have an educational background, but I taught economics. I was never a business person. But I know better that time is money. And business people, that's exactly what they are, business. It's no time to fool around. You make a promise, a commitment, you keep it. We follow it. We need to know what steps we go through for economic development and so forth. So that's my little contrast. But we've gotten better because Dale and Figueroa are more conscientious of the problems, and they're working on it.
yeah. And I feel that, us being a border town, having almost 1 million people right next door, we should be catering to them that way.
Okay.
And
Yes.
it's kind of sad when you see people like paying a buck or two to drive all the way to El Centro to go shop over there, when we should be doing our best to, keep them here.
We understand that, and we are. But the reality also is that this year we still need to hold in the reins. So not all the parks are going to be cleaned. I mean, they're going to be cleaned, but they're not going to be fixed up. I'm going to push for a skate park. I don't know how successful I will be for that. Or more of the parks being beautified. But we are very aware of that. Very aware. And so little by little we are focused on it and working on it. But you're right. We don't want people going through Calexico to go to El Centro. We want them to come to Calexico. And we need more brand names. Now we have the Grand Plaza, but that's struggling. But I heard that they're still going to move forward and progressing. They're going to enclose the Grand Plaza so that nobody will be able to complain that it's too hot to walk around. Although I never did understand, because, well, it gets hot here. Maybe it's a different kind of heat. But they have an open door shopping center in Yuma. and it's successful. It's off of 22nd Street or
Yeah.
16th Street, off the freeway.
but-
You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Maybe there's a bigger population, or
Yeah, I don't know,
I don't
but I'm for enclosing it.
yeah. I mean,
It's better. It's a better approach, so that you are not walking in the heat in 120-degree heat. You know,
yeah, and not only that, but when it gets cold as
and
well.
it gets cold too. Yeah.
I mean, we.
So we need Grand Plaza to be indoors, and it's going to happen. They're working on it.
Yeah. I've seen the
Construction.
Yeah, the progress, going along. In terms of housing development, it seems we hit this stagnant where like nothing's being built other than the low-income apartments over by the east end of Cole Road. There was also a development that was supposed to be built on the
El Portal next to Walmart.
no, actually it's like on Cole Road, almost at the end, like right in front of.
Oh yeah, that's another. That one's ran into a snag. El Portal is on the ventilator. It's still breathing. All I can say is that we're still negotiating with the school district, and there's still a possibility that it might become alive. If it doesn't come alive to the full fruition that the developer wanted, he's going to then have a plan B, a smaller scale of development.
Which one's that one? The one
El Portal is the big empty land
that has the
east of Walmart.
Okay, the one that has the
Brick wall?
Yeah.
No, that's farther.
Okay.
No. Notice when you leave Walmart and you go on Cole, you go east, like to that other one. Notice that right away when you leave Walmart, there's a big, huge area of empty space.
Okay.
And
So there was gonna be
there was going to be over 1,000 units built there.
okay.
But it may not work. It may be trimmed down to 300 or 600. Figueroa has done an excellent job at straightening up our housing problems. We did have issues for the dark ages, the years of the dark ages that I say, like 1214 to 1216. There wasn't proper due diligence with the paperwork for CDBG grants, for housing, and so we got dinged on that, where we didn't qualify for any funding or grants. That has now been cleared up. The paperwork is in order, and so we'll be better. We're in better position, and we're moving forward. Now, I'm a member of SCAG, Southern California Association of Governments. I serve on 2 committees. One is, more of economic development. The other is a subcommittee, RENA, Regional Housing Needs Assessment. And I have learned that we are mandated, that organization as a metropolitan planning area, we are mandated by the state to do a study of our different counties and jurisdictions. And so the state has come up with a certain amount of number that we have to divide up for in Imperial Valley alone for different jurisdictions that mandate that certain amount of housing has to be built. Now, cities can appeal that if they feel it's unreasonable over a certain amount of years. So we'll be getting those numbers soon.
Yeah, because I feel that we should be ready to build, because I feel that, I have friends that want to buy homes here in Calexico, and there's really nothing on the market because
there hasn't been since the heyday of
like was it
2003, 2004, 2006, 7, before the crash. There was a real boom, a housing boom. Since then, it's been slow in being revitalized. But all I can say is we're at a juncture where we're turning the corner, Jose.
Well, I sure hope so.
We are. I have faith. I'm optimistic.
Well, I think that's. I mean, I do have other questions that people, wanted me to ask, but I tend not to go that route where like people are, these are questions that people brought up that I thought would, are.
They were contentious.
That were reasonable to ask, that really, dealt with city stuff.
City service.
But, like I said, being an elected official is, you have a spotlight on you.
But I'm not complaining. I love it.
And yeah, the question I asked about being held at a higher standard, I feel that people are a little bit upset because of something that happened, months back with a certain board member,
council member,
sorry. That people.
We're not good at communicating. We need to get better, because the truth is there's nothing that we could do. Now, if you're referring, to Councilwoman Fernandez, right?
Yeah. That's what people were asking about.
By law, we can't ask her to leave. Unless she created a felony. And at this point, it hasn't been determined. Now.
Yeah, I think the biggest misunderstanding is that you as a council can.
But I did listen to the public, and so I was the only one that verbally condemned her actions. For a while, we were quiet. But quiet is not good. Silence says something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think sometimes
silence sometimes says we don't care.
Yeah. I think silence, if it's in the way that you really don't want, you have your opinion, but you don't want to voice it, people can take that silence in a different way where
That's
you're
right.
content with. That's
right. That's why I spoke up and I condemned her actions, but I wish her the very best.
That's kind of a hard note to end, but
let's end on an easier note.
Yeah,
when's the next comedy gig? How do you think about comedy? What do you feel about comedy?
I feel
why do you do comedy, Jose?
Comedy, stand-up comedy. I don't know. I enjoy it. It's a rush.
It is.
It's kind of like doing a podcast where I think this has helped me feel a little bit more comfortable on stage.
Yeah, you're very articulate. You're doing a great job.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But I think also comedies went through a little.
It's a craft. It's an art.
Yeah, but I think for a while went through a bit of a hard time with the whole PC. People getting. Obviously, there's people that do deserve to be outed for stuff they do, but sometimes people get offended when they're at a comedy show, and when you go to a comedy show,
politically incorrect.
Yeah. So when you go to a comedy show, just make sure that.
Have you ventured out of the valley to do any comedy?
No.
I haven't either.
You know what? I went to
that.
I went to Mexicali. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, it does.
But I bombed.
You bombed?
Yeah.
Did you do it in Spanish?
Yeah, and I just tried to translate my set to Spanish,
and it didn't work.
No, it's not the same. The punchlines aren't the same.
You get up and just do joke after joke, or do you interact with the audience? Because I have to do that more. I have to learn to be brave and interact with the audience.
It depends on the venue, I think.
Okay.
But it depends if you get a reaction. You kind of like
you work on it, work off of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a craft, like you said.
It is.
It's like it's something that.
Well, I did acting, and same, but not the same.
Yeah.
But it's a craft.
Yeah.
Acting is a craft.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a tremendous amount that you need to learn. One thing you need to learn when you're an actor is just to relax and live the moment, which is very difficult because you're placed in an artificial setting and your body rejects that.
Yeah.
So you need to work against that. The best actors are like Brando or Dean, the ones that know how to improv or how to learn.
Did you hear that they're gonna do a movie with James Dean and he's gonna be like CGI'd into the movie? Like he's gonna be one of the.
Yeah,
he's gonna be one of the main characters.
that is cool.
A lot of people don't like it because it's like that's not really him. So how do you know? How do you know he would like to be in this movie? Maybe.
Yeah. You know, that's becoming the new thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
What did you say?
CGI.
CGI. I heard that they did that with the film Scorsese that's coming out on Netflix, The Irishman.
Oh, okay.
That they took a younger De Niro face and put it on his body. And so when you watch the film, it's a younger De Niro, like 20 years younger or 10 years younger.
Okay.
It's not De Niro as he is today.
Yeah.
That does kind of get to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like that or not.
Yeah.
I have to see the results of that.
We're at an hour and 10 already.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I usually try to, keep it
Sure.
at
I
an
understand.
hour. Is there anything else that I didn't, ask you touch upon that you want to add?
No, I understand people's frustrations. We're here to take the constructive criticism, but I want people to know that we care. And we're working as hard as we can. We'll work harder. And we're turning the corner, and Viva Calexico.
Yeah, Viva Calexico.
Viva Calexico. All right.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Mr. Hodge, for taking the time and being on the podcast. I try to answer everybody's questions that because I put a post on Facebook and Instagram asking people if they had any questions, and I try to answer to my best ability.
Were there some personal? No.
There was one.
Yeah, I figured that.
And yeah, but yeah, I'm not gonna get.
I was nowhere near that liquor store.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we'll see you guys.
Thank you, folks.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
God bless all of you.
Yeah. Peace.